So we're going to start with number 3, about the websites and search tools you found most helpful.
So I use Naviance as well as CapEx and Make Me a Freshman. And Naviance, if you are unfamiliar with it, is very useful in just connecting with your counselors, as well as using search engines to make it easier to find schools that you might be interested in. And the other two, CapEx and Make Me a Freshman, are pretty similar in that CapEx has a search engine tool too, and what you do is you can get matched with certain colleges that are interesting to you, and then you can create a list and rank them from your first choice to your last choice, and it becomes easier because you can see the statuses of your chances of getting in based on what CapEx thinks that that you'll be able to get into whichever college. And Make Me a Freshman is basically you search the colleges that you want to apply to or planning to apply to, and they give you a list of deadlines and what you need to do in order to apply, in order to make the best use of your time while applying. So for example, when I was applying to Duke, it had all the financial aid, it had a checklist of all the financial aid packages that you had to complete in order to get financial aid, and that was really important because there were hard deadlines that you needed to get, and they would remind Make Me a Freshman, it would send reminders out to you, and it was just easier to track your progress throughout the application process. So, yeah.
Good, thank you. This table has suddenly gotten squeaky. It's very strange. Okay, did you attend college visits, and if so, how did they help you?
I did attend college visits. I attended about 12, 14 over the summer, over the past 2 summers, and they really helped with getting to know the students more so than the actual application process. I mean, it was very helpful to learn how to apply and what tools you needed to apply, but I think the most useful part, in my opinion, of the college visits was to see how students interacted on a campus and to observe how you would be able to fit into the campus, and gave you a chance to ask questions, and it supplied information that would be useful physically being on the campus, as well as mentally compiling all the information that you needed to be able to apply. So I thought that was really helpful for the visits. And I actually visited the colleges before I applied. And I know there's a thing where some people prefer to visit when they are accepted to make sure they actually want to go there. But I found that going to them earlier kind of weeded out some of the ones that I didn't necessarily, or that I thought like on paper were my kind of schools, but when I went there were very different from what I expected, and I didn't even apply to them at all, so I thought that was helpful in doing it before I actually applied to schools.
Can you give an example?
For example, like I was thinking about Brown University because it has a great curriculum and it is very highly ranked, and on paper it looks like my kind of school. It's in a nice neighborhood, it has good faculty, good student-to-teacher ratios and all that. But when I went there, it was a lot different. Like the curriculum, the very liberal-based curriculum didn't appeal to me as much, even though I thought it would. But when they started talking about how everyone had all these choices and you didn't have to take a math class and you weren't required to take, an English class, I was kind of turned off by that. Even though it sounds appealing, I personally am a much more organized. Like, I need to know what classes I need to take in order to fulfill the requirements to my specified major. So I found that was not helpful for me, and so I just decided not to apply there. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't gone to the information session or the college tour. So.
Okay, how about, what was your approach to creating lists of extracurriculars and honors?
So in the college counseling class, we actually had sessions where we would just write down all of our activities and all of our honors and extracurriculars and all our awards and stuff. But I think one of the issues was narrowing them down to like, because you needed like a top 10 or a top 5, and it's kind of hard to choose because a lot of people here do so much stuff. And what I found kind of useful was putting in perspective like what is most important to you, not necessarily what's most important to college process, but what you find that you had the most value in. Just, you know, put your passions out there, because it's a lot easier to say, it might look better to say I was like the vice president of this club, but if you weren't really doing anything, it doesn't really mean much to you. It'll show in that, especially because there's a word count limit, which kind of was a problem at some points. But with that, it's just easy to be succinct and know what you want, because if you know what you want, then it'll show in all your activities and your extracurriculars. And same with honors and awards. Like, if you had some sort of honor that you're really proud of, you should probably put that at the top, because it just makes more sense, because it shows the colleges that you're willing to do more of this. You know, you're willing to fulfill more of their requirements, to get more awards and to bring leadership to the table. Oh, thank you.
Okay. And this was how did you track the status of your application?
Oh, okay. So,
let me interrupt you before you start. In general, how did you track from all schools, and then also in particular in that one case?
Okay, so in general, I would say that I tracked everything through, well, the Common App usually, it notifies you when you have to apply and stuff. But what I did to track my applications was I went on Naviance a lot and just updated my status pretty much every week. And I also went onto my specific panels for the colleges that I applied to. I actually only applied to 4 colleges before I got into one. So, and each one had a separate college like panel to fill out. And so I would check my email regularly too, because you get a lot of email notifications, and sometimes it goes to your spam box. So that's really important, because I found some college things in my spam box. There's a lot of college, letters and reminders get stuck in there because it doesn't recognize that it's an actual like organization that wants to notify you. But check your email, check your notifications. If you get an email that says, hey, you should look at this financial aid document, you should probably do that as soon as possible, because it's probably going to remind you that the deadline is coming up. So, yeah.
And do you want to talk about that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So, I applied early decision to Duke University, and last summer of 2015, I went to a summer program there, the Duke University Summer College for High School Students. And we had our own username and our own ID and our own password to get into our student panel. And what happened was at 7 p.m. on the 11th of December, we could look at our application status and see if we were accepted or not. And so what you do is you would have to log into your portal that we had made after applications were completed. And I logged into my student panel and nothing showed up. There was absolutely no letter that said I was accepted or deferred or denied. And I was really freaking out because there was nothing there, and I spent so long trying to figure out what was wrong with I thought it was something wrong with my computer or my internet access, and it was kind of stressful. But what it did was, instead of giving me a pop-up page, because I asked people about it, and they said they just got a pop-up page that said, it was the letter, like if you were accepted or denied or deferred. And I didn't get that. I went straight to my student panel that I had for my summer program. So it had my classes that I took there on it, but it didn't have any sort of letter. And I looked through every single tab and every single link, and it didn't have anything there. And I was really frustrated with myself because I thought I did something wrong, but it was actually a problem with the administration. They didn't correctly redirect students that already had usernames and IDs from the summer program to the actual application. So the next day I went to Miss Mitrovich, my college counselor, and she called the admissions office because that was what they said to do if you had any problems opening it. And we called them, and they had to give me my application status over the phone, which is really, it was pretty stressful because it's like you have to give them permission to say whether you're accepted or denied or deferred. And it was really stressful, but it was also exciting because they told me verbally on the phone, they congratulated me, and it was a really good feeling. So I'm really glad. And then later, when we called them, I still didn't get my pop-up, like it still didn't come up on my computer, so we called them later and said, hey, there's a problem with the link to the application panel. And then as I was calling them, it had gotten fixed, the problem got fixed, and when I went back on my student panel, there was my acceptance letter, and it was just really exciting because, they figured out the technical difficulties, and it relieved my stress a lot because it was I was in pain. Like, it was really bad because I didn't know if I was accepted or not, and everyone else did. And I was like, well, thanks, but I don't know if I was accepted or not. But my college counselors really helped me because without them, I wouldn't have had the nerve to call them and ask for my acceptance letter. Like, that wouldn't have happened. I would have been really nervous too. So thank you to our college counselors.
Good.